Africa, you are on Sonshine. This is Saturday Mornings with Mike, and joining me in the studio is regular guest David Snell from One Agency North. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Mike. I believe this is going to be our last session till Christmas.
I believe it.
Unbelievable.
The year's gone. Here we are. We're in December already.
We'll talk about this in the last segment, but we'll talk about Christmas presents. I've got a fun fact for you, and I'm going to put you on the spot, Michael. Beware.
I love your fun facts. Let's get stuck straight into it. Yeah, there's coming up some changes regarding legislation, which is before Parliament now in WA.
That's right.
About rentals.
Yeah. So there's been discussion papers out there. I think over the last 2 years, you and I have talked about it on air about what might be in what's called the residential tenancy reforms introduced to Parliament, but it's actually hit Parliament this Thursday, just gone. Okay. And if it all goes through, which assuming it will, I believe it will, it'll come into effect July 1, 2024. So 3 or 4 or 5. I was going to say radical changes, but important changes that both landlords and tenants should be aware of, I think.
Okay, so it's before Parliament, it's just landed.
It's legislation,
I wonder how the timing will go, because they're only sitting up to a certain time. I mean, they don't come back for ages too.
I know you're into the logistics of the legislation, but I think this one's going to go through fairly smoothly, to be honest. Okay. It's not that controversial. The opposition are going to stop it, as far as I know. Yeah, so, do you want me to run through the key points?
We'll start. Yeah, we'll see how far we might have to play song come back. But
okay. So the first one is tenants will be allowed to keep pets automatically, with the landlord only able to refuse them under certain circumstances.
Wow.
So that's a turnaround big time on that one.
That's a significant change, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of landlords will say, no pets, and don't need to give a reason.
Up till now, that's correct, yeah. But now it's the other way around. So the onus is on the landlord to give a valid reason. The big valid reason would be if it's in a strata complex and the strata bylaws say no pets, no problem, because that overrules that.
That makes sense.
The property owner might say, I'm allergic to cats and I'm moving in next year, and so I'm not going to allow that. That probably would be a valid reason. Okay. But the default position is tenants don't need to require permission as such. That's the default position.
So that changed all the advertising as well. When you see it,
that's right.
So I was just thinking, where it says pets not allowed, you would have to remove that.
Correct.
Because it's automatic.
Correct. Yep.
So would the tenant then have to let you know? So so you're the agent. I'm going to rent this place. So I don't even need to let you know I've got a dog.
Look, my understanding is, and obviously the devil's in the detail, there still is a pet bond required, and I believe it's around $260. Okay. So that would go with the pet. So it would need to be declared, but the landlord couldn't by default say no. And the $260 on top of the normal bond is to cover flea treatment, scratches on the door from the dog, or whatever's required there. So that those two things will go hand in hand.
Okay, so if I'm the landlord, I'm just throwing another question at you. Yeah. I've always rented this property, and there's always been no pets, and I'm just not a pet lover as the landlord.
Yes.
Does that hold any weight, or is that not enough to say to not allow?
On the surface, it's not enough. Correct. Yeah. But I mean, in the current environment, you're going to get multiple applications. If you want me to be practical, and I guess there might be one application that says we're definitely not having pets, there might be another one that says we're having pets. Under the current legislation, that can't be the reason, but behind the scenes, I guess the owner is allowed to pick whoever they want, and they might default to that person. Okay. But fast forward 2 or 3 months, and the tenant says, actually, I want a pet, there's probably not much you could do about it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So the property manager might say, that's fine. You need to give us another $260 for the pet bond, but welcoming the pet. The property managers any property manager will tell you the amount of times they go and do an inspection and a pet appears that wasn't declared. And the answer often is, we're just looking after it for our friend Mike. That happens a lot. Okay. That cat, I think it's the neighbour's cat. Why is there milk on the kitchen floor? I'm not sure.
So is that brought about the reason for this legislation? Because look, people are doing it anyway.
There's a little bit of that. I think COVID was a big push there. Mental health, where people were bound in, and people have declared mental health is a big deal at the moment, and pets have been well documented that pets are good for mental health, and the general, I think I heard a stat that about 6 years ago, 80% of tenants wanted to keep a pet.
Right.
And 80% of owners did not want to have pets just because it was easier.
Gotcha.
And back in those days where, sometimes owners had to allow pets because they needed to get a tenant when our vacancy rate was 4 or 5 or 6%. Now it's 0.7, which is the lowest it's ever been in the history of rentals in Western Australia.
Amazing.
And the onus sometimes has been, proved why you should have a pet, but now it's been reversed.
Interesting. David, we'll take a break. We'll come back and you've got some more regarding the legislation.
You asked a lot of questions, Mike.
I know.
The devil's in the detail.
I just find it
You could
fascinating.
be a legislator.
Maybe I could.
Okay.
We'll take a break. We'll come back after this. You are on Sunshine. This is Saturday Mornings with Mike.